inside the off stump. Oh, he's caught it! I don't believe it! Tom Kohler-Cadmore has caught the most magnificent catch. That short third man is the end of Daniel Sams, and Somerset have won the Vitality Blast 2023. They bowled Essex out for 131.
Hello there, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is a Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd. Joining me this evening, returned from Disney, all refreshed to a bucket load of work, is our exiled Northern correspondent, Steve Tancock. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Ian.
Were you able to keep up with the thrilling win over Essex from the States?
I was, yeah. It was. I can still never get used to the timing of the games when I'm in America. It's just completely like you wake up and it's lunchtime sort of thing. So I was greeted by Gibbo's lunchtime pre-match and lunchtime posts every day. But yeah, I must admit I'm feeling a lot more optimistic than I was because of that result. But and obviously Matt Henry's arrived, which has floated your boat on Twitter today, Shep. So
absolutely. Especially after some unconfirmed rumours that he was a replacement for Josh Hazlewood in the IPL for RCB, but thankfully those proved to be nonsense. Gibbo returned from Portugal, and I hope your return journey was slightly less less problematic than your outbound flight.
Well, we had another stag party who decided that it would be good fun to turn the fire alarm on in the airport.
Oh no.
But fortunately, it didn't hold us up too long.
Fantastic. So Gibbo's enjoyed a week off with no Somerset men's cricket, but that's a nice segue into our special guest today. Somerset Women have been, had a couple of games, and their captain, Sophie Luff, is joining us today. Sophie, how is it going?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Enjoyed a nice day off today, which they've been pretty rare. The start of the season has been pretty full on. So, yeah, enjoying some downtime, albeit very briefly.
Good. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak to us today. I should pre-warn you that the last Somerset captain we had on was Tom Abel in late 2023, and then a few weeks later he jacked it in. So hopefully that's not an omen, but I can't see any reason why it should be, given that the side have had a pretty good start and you're in pretty good form with the bat yourself.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good start from the girls, to be honest. Yeah, we've had contributions sort of all the way through the squad, which I guess is probably the key to any winning side when a lot of people are standing up week in, week out. So yeah, it's been really good fun. It's been pretty full on. We've got a few tired bodies knocking around at the moment, but yeah, hopefully into a T20 game on Friday, which should be good fun as well. But yeah, just really pleased to have managed to contribute personally in the last couple of games. Started a bit light with the bat, I think, but some other players picked up the slack of the captain, and yeah, now it's nice to be finding my feet at the crease.
Yeah, so you're fourth now in the Metro Bank One Day Cup table with 17 points. So it's quite a congested table there, really. So a couple of wins and you're right back up there again.
Yeah, I think it's been really intriguing seeing how the new county structure's played out, actually, and I think anyone's capable of beating anyone. I think we saw that towards the back end of the regional structure, but yeah, the county system seems to have worked really nicely. We've seen a lot of England players available for selection for their counties, which has just increased the standard. Pretty much every team's got an overseas player as well. So yeah, the standard of cricket is very, very good. There's been some very good batting tracks as well, so it's meant some really high scores. I think the record for the amount of hundreds in a women's domestic season has already been broken, and we're only into the middle of May. So yeah, that suggests that a lot of runs have been scored.
Yeah, some record chases have been going on as well. I think who was it? Was it Hampshire chased quite a few up at Warwickshire? Was it the other way around? I can't remember anyway. Should we have a little chat about yesterday, because that one's kind of fresh in the mind. You yourself had a pretty decent game, including probably one of the more spectacular catches, shall we say? Do you want to describe what happened, Sophie, for our listeners that haven't seen it? I think the sun was in your eyes to start with, wasn't it? The sun was in your eyes to start with.
Class Net is one of my best drops. Ball gets skied to me at mid wicket. should be a pretty regulation catch, but I always think the ones that go straight up are always the hardest. Yeah. So yeah, I basically drop it and then somehow catch it on the back of my hamstring, which actually our fielding coach Max Waller will probably love, actually, because he talks a lot about care in detail for the ball. So he talks about like catching the ball high and then taking good care of it. Whatever happens, whether you do sort of spill it, you can always recover. So hopefully Max enjoyed that one, although I've not had a message from him, which is pretty disappointing, isn't it?
He's probably on the golf course though, Matt. Yeah, it was something I was told, and I tell kids that I've coached, is make that initial contact point high, because like you say, there's 1 in 1,000 where you'll get that second chance, and you'll end up taking the catch. Do have a look at that on socials if you can.
Well, Sophie, what went through your mind? Because we've all played and we all know what it's like. And that split second between the initial contact and then finally catching, was it a sort of 20 seconds of brain work in about a millisecond?
It all happened very quickly. To be honest, I was just I didn't really understand how I'd caught the ball. Watching it back, you can clearly see how I've caught it. But I think the best reaction is Chloe Skelton, the bowler. So she's very animated. As soon as the ball goes aerially off her bowling, any time, she's very animated. She's almost like half celebrating, waiting for it to be caught every time, and then she sort of just like shudders down as if I've dropped it, and then is ecstatic when she realizes that I've actually clung on. So yeah, I don't know what's better, the catch or the reaction from her.
I think there was one other fielder who kind of had seen what happened. It was whoever was kind of to your right, either sort of mid wicket or square leg, because everyone else, it just kind of looked like you'd taken it, fallen over, and it was a regulation grab. But yeah, can we talk about? Yeah, it was a kind of what could have been yesterday, wasn't it? I mean, 200 and you started off really well with the ball. Molly Robbins' first over was a maiden. Sent them packing for 213, and then Trevor Griffin said that you weren't sort of brave enough in the chase. I don't know what he kind of means by that. Do you think is that confidence to sort of play the big shots at the right time and not hold back?
Yeah, I did listen to Trev's post-match interview, and yeah, I don't know. I maybe have a very different view on it, having been at the non-strikers end while we lost a number of wickets, all in quite quick and similar succession as well. Yeah, I think, look, I think we did a really, really good job with ball in hand and backed it up in the field to restrict them to 213. We'd obviously played on that wicket 2 days prior against Surrey, and it was an absolute it was a decent wicket, and we felt that it would play similarly. They took a lot of pace off the ball, and the pitch may have helped that in their second innings, but ultimately we didn't play the slow bowling well enough, and that's something that we need to address going forward. In my opinion, it was only 4 and over, and in a 50 over game, that should be a pretty comfortable chase, especially with the batting lineup that we do have. So, yeah, it's definitely one that will probably rue, and one we need to move on from quickly, but also learn from so that doesn't happen again.
Well, you shift formats in a couple of days, taking on Durham down at Exmouth it's not the Blast, is it? It's the National Counties T20 Cup. So we'll come on to that in a minute. But just looking back, I mean, it was a hell of a start to the campaign, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat in that sort of rainy, drizzly, freezing cold day at Beckenham. Do you want to kind of talk us through those last sort of 2 overs from a captain's perspective and what was going through your mind?
It was pretty unbelievable, to be honest. I know, and we all know what Amanda J. Wellington is capable of. That's why you sign someone of her calibre. But I think the thing for me was just how calm and how effortless it was. You talk about sort of power hitting in the modern game, and it was anything bar that. It was so much skill. She just used the pace of the ball. She manipulated the field. She made them change the field, and then she'd hit the gap that they just moved the fielder from. It really was just very, very skillful batting. There was no brutality to the hitting at all. It was just pure skill, and yeah, I'm sure she'll have watched that back a number of times, put it on her YouTube channel, and got a lot of followers from it. But yeah, it was just brilliant, and look, anytime you win a game like that is always a great feeling. But to walk onto that pitch and shake the hands of the Surrey players, it did feel all that much sweeter, to be honest with you.
It was. I mean, I sort of keeping an eye on it on the stream on my phone when I was out and about, and I kind of thought, why they just showed a replay of the same shot when she just kept battering it through backward point in the gap. It was quite extraordinary and really fantastic way for the women's professional Tier 1 team to get their campaign underway. We talked sort of at press day about this kind of being a bit of an unknown quantity going into sort of the this new world of women's professional Tier 1 cricket. How has it kind of shaped up for you? Has it been what you more or less expected? Have been any kind of surprises? How is it kind of different from the Western Storm regional setup? How's it feel this sort of last month or so?
I think it just feels like we've got a real identity and following, and it just becomes easier to talk about. People know Somerset and they know Somerset cricket. And I feel like we've been really embedded into the club, and we've had brilliant support both at Taunton and at Taunton Vale, and just that connection piece. I think the biggest thing for me is I've always felt a massive part of the club. I've got a huge amount of love for the club, but now all the other girls are feeling that way as well. They have that appreciation for what is so special about Somerset cricket. And I think that's a really great place to be. And hopefully we can just keep building on the momentum we have generated at the start of this season, and carry that through this season, but also years to come. And I think in years to come, that pathway, that infrastructure becomes a lot more solidified, and we're going to be producing some really good cricketers down here in the West Country.
Great stuff. I mean, it's one thing that struck me when I came up to Taunton for the first home game against Lancashire is how much of the sort of the core, if you like, I don't know this phrase, but was it male, pale and stale? The old guard of the Somerset membership were out there sort of supporting the women's team in force. I think that was, it's what you say, it's how special a place Somerset is, and whether it's the men or the women, the membership, are really absolutely dedicated to following both Somerset teams. So long may that continue. We briefly touched on Amanda J. Wellington's YouTube channel. I kind of stumbled on that. I'd never realised how prolific she is. I mean, she is a part-time cricketer and a full-time YouTube blogger. Has it ever gone over the line, do you think? Have you ever had to tell her, can you just make sure you delete that? Or, Wello, can you shut that camera off for 5 minutes?
There's probably been a few times. She's very subtle. You'll be doing something and you won't even notice that she's got her camera out. She spends more time doing that training than she probably does in the actual nets. But you just kind of let her do what she wants to do. She performs out on the pitch. And I think it's great. I think it's great that she can show her personality. And I think she'll get following from that, and I think it'll bring in hopefully a great audience for us. Young girls following what we do day to day, what she gets up to in and around our environment. I think it's brilliant. She was on the mic in one of the games. She chatting absolute drivel most of the time. So I'm not sure many of us as her teammates enjoyed listening back to that. But I guess young girls, they want to engage with that. All of that content, I think, is really positive for her profile, but also for Somerset women's cricket as well.
I mean, you mentioned her personality. She is a very infectiously enthusiastic character. A lot of Australians do come over like that. Some are complete unmentionables, and then some are just, completely. They haven't got an off switch, and she seems like that. And sometimes you might just want to tell her, "Oh, calm it down for 5 minutes."
Yeah, she's a great energy, great spirit, incredibly positive. She has an amazing outlook on life and on cricket. She could have the worst day or she could have the best day, and she would still be exactly the same. It's great for us as a squad to have someone like her in the dressing room who brings that.
Fantastic. So, I mean, we could go into lots of details about every single game, but I think we've kind of sort of covered it. Should we look forward to? Well, we got switching codes now to T20 on Friday night at the Mayor Ground in Exmouth, welcoming Durham, being particularly cruel to them, making their longest away trip another 45 minutes
38 miles in an hour. Yeah.
Love that. Very good. I like that. You got to see if you can play them in like Boscawen or Truro next year. Just get them right down into the deepest depths of Cornwall. But are we going to be maybe looking at any personnel changes for the shorter form of the game?
We may be looking at a few changes. I guess we haven't got the biggest squad in the world, so we've probably only got a few changes to make, if any. Heather and Charlie will be available for that one, which is brilliant news before they meet up with England. Those squads were obviously announced earlier today. We'll obviously miss those guys moving forward, but brilliant that they both want to play on Friday night and make the trip down to Exmouth as well. Obviously, I think Heather's pretty keen to play, given that she grew up in those neck of the woods. Hopefully we get a few out to watch. I think it's a good opportunity for maybe some of our younger girls to maybe get a go. We've still got a couple of injuries in the squad. Those girls are sort of on their rehab and looking to return in the next couple of weeks, couple of months. So hopefully we'll have a few to pick from. I'll have to speak to Trevor tomorrow to see who we're going to go with.
And that's a really short tournament, isn't it? Because finals day is on Bank Holiday Monday coming up at the Cooper Associates County Ground. So 26th of May for that one. I think it's like £10 a ticket for a finals day. So 3 games, the T20 cricket for a tenner is that's an absolute no-brainer. So do get yourselves along to that if you can. Great stuff, Sophie Luff. Would you like to stay on and be a pundit now? Swap hats and join us as we talk about various other bits for an hour and a bit or so. We have got a few listeners' questions for you, actually, so I'll just quickly jump into those. You've probably seen these before, so I will dig through those now.
Rob the goddess comment, because Sophie might blush, and we might have to turn the brightness on the screen down.
Yeah, I think he was Lord Lucan. I think is your number one fan. We'll come to his in there. Quite a good one from Rob Reed. Would you like to see more women's coaches working at the game at the pro level? Because it does seem to me, a little, no disrespect to any of the coaching staff that you've got, but obviously I think it's an all-male coaching staff and an all-women's team. So is that something that, no disrespect to Trevor Griffin and his team, but is that something that you'd think as this generation of fully professional women's cricketers kind of goes through their playing career, retires, then you would expect more and more women's coaches to be involved at the top level?
Yeah, I think naturally there will be more and more that come into the game. I think there are a few at the moment, obviously Charlotte Edwards being the number one. She's got a big job on her hands right now. There are a few around. Like you say, we have a very male-dominated coaching staff. We've got a couple female members in our analyst and psychologist. I think getting a balance within those roles is really important, especially in an all-female environment. But at the end of the day, you want the best people in those roles. And so to be honest with you, I just want the best person for the job. But I think as the game moves forward and develops further, there will be a lot more opportunity. But I think that the way that the game goes, more women will follow the coaching pathway.
Is that something that you're potentially looking at when you hang up your spikes, or a bit of media, or a bit of both? Or
I guess I'm
not trying to retire you.
I'm kind of keeping both avenues kind of open at the moment. I did a little bit of coaching with the Somerset Academy this winter, obviously doing my commentary as well this summer. So, who knows what will happen. Trying not to think about that, to be honest, and focus on the playing for the time being. But yeah, it's really important as you do get towards the back end of your career that you do start to think about those things. I obviously coached pre being a professional cricketer, so feel like I've got plenty of experience, got some qualifications under my belt anyway, so they might come in handy.
Excellent stuff. Simon Hancock asks, how do you feel the younger players have stepped up so far? Given the good performances so far, what are your realistic expectations for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think the younger players have stepped up really well so far. I'd actually go to say maybe they're not as young as what you think they are. I mean, we're talking about maybe 22, 23-year-olds, but I feel like they're coming into their own. So I've seen a lot more from Alex Griffiths this year with both bat and ball. She's really impressed me. Emma Corney's gone pretty well at the top of the order. Obviously, probably feels a little bit more settled with someone like Heather at the other end to partner her, which has given her a lot of confidence. But she played a crucial knock in that first game against Surrey to set up that match-winning performance. Without that opening partnership, we wouldn't have had a platform for someone like Wello to come in and launch from. And yeah, someone like Ellie Anderson with the ball. We obviously signed her off the back of a loan agreement last year with Western Storm, and we saw a lot of potential in her, and I think we're seeing more and more of that. Even though we're only 7 games into the season. So yeah, it's I guess I'd encourage them to keep sticking their hand up and putting in those contributions. But yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot more of that. And I think that's been a lot of work over the winter for those girls. Someone like Alex went to Australia and got game time out there. And it's not always done in the nets over the winter. She'll have learnt a lot off the field as well, which she's brought back with her.
And obviously, you mentioned what players come in. Someone like Bex Odgers, who came in for Heather Knight, was it Edgbaston? Durham game, comes in, gets 60 odd, and then you have to leave her out because Heather's come back in. But it's kind of great in a way that you've got somebody who can come in, perform. I mean, it's going to take a lot to dislodge Heather Knight from any team. So I'd hope she kind of took being left out for the next time with the good grace that you would. But just a great position to be in as a captain, I guess.
Yeah, it's great, and it's probably, I look back on sort of Western Storm over the last couple of years, it's probably something that we lacked. So it's great that those girls have the confidence to go out and do that now. And like I said earlier, the standard of the competition is really high. As a batter, you're coming up against some good bowling attacks, and as a bowler, there's no hiding place, especially with all the England girls around. The top 6 of every team is very strong, and we've managed to bowl teams out on a number of occasions so far this season, which hopefully stands us in good stead moving forwards.
Good stuff. Sam Betley has asked, Sophie, can you talk us through the Heather Knight run out? P.S. I wouldn't have set off for that one either. So who barbecued who then, Skipper?
Yeah, it's not like these things happen. To be honest with you, I was pretty surprised that Heather wanted the run. And at the non-strikers end, if the ball goes in front of that batter, you kind of trust them for a split second. But I had to say no. And yeah, unfortunately, it's just one of those things that happens. I'm not really sure why Heather thought that there was a run there. I didn't. But yeah, like I said, just one of those things. You got to park it and move on. And yeah, I guess any time that you're involved with those sort of mix-ups, you kind of always feel like, was it my fault? Yeah, you do feel a bit guilty, even though maybe 99%
of the people that 99% of the people that I've ever played with will say it's never my fault. So. Oh, I do. Good stuff. Yeah, high praise from I Don't Like Cricket at Lord Lupin. Sophie is a goddess. Captain fantastic. Discuss. I mean, I'll try and make a lovely compliment, but I'll sort of talk about captaincy. I mean, what sort of, how would you sort of describe your style as a captain? What do you try and be like when you're a captain out on the field and in the dressing room? And what would you say makes you a good captain, or what makes a good captain in general?
I think
drop that one on, yeah.
something that like rings really true for me is I guess I want to lead by example. Like naturally I'm an older head in the dressing room, but yeah, just the way that I go about things, both on and off the field, I'd like to think that I'm leading by example. And I guess that's where, after the first few games, even though we were going really well, like there was a part of me that was like I haven't really contributed here. And I think sometimes as a captain, you're just desperate to lead from the front and show up basically. So yeah, I was delighted to get that 100 at Edgbaston, put in that knock. I probably really needed that from a confidence point of view. And I think that helps you kind of relax as a captain then as well, to do the other bits. But yeah, I guess it's just encouraging the younger players to trust in their ability as well. Ultimately, we've got a lot of girls that are learning professional cricket on the job, and there's no real hiding place. And as much as it is the best job in the world, it's a pretty tough job at times as well. And I guess as the game moves forward, there's a lot more media attention, a lot more scrutiny. So yeah, it's not always that easy and straightforward. So yeah, just trying to be a little bit of an ear at times, a supportive hand, and yeah, encourage them to really back their ability, because we've got some very talented players in the dressing room.
Sophie, do you find it quite exhausting? Because I haven't been lucky enough to see you play live yet, but watching at a distance, I always look at you and think there's a heck of a lot going on in your head while you're in the field, especially. Batting, you seem to me much more mentally free. Do you, you look at the sort of style of captains we've had at Somerset over the last few years, and you seem more of a Lewis than a Tom Abel to me, and that there's, I find it quite hard to read what Lewis is thinking, and the same with you. Have you found it quite mentally tiring over 50 overs, or do you find it just flows for you?
Yeah, it is quite mentally tiring. I find it really hard to switch off, especially on like days off. I guess there's always like other bits to consider, like you got to move on to the next game, who we're gonna select. There's just a lot more that kind of goes into it, I guess. On field, like I've been really lucky. The start of the season, I've got some really experienced heads around me to sort of lean on. It's funny that you say that I'm more of a Lewis than a Tom, because I actually caught up with Lewis around his captaincy style, because I'll get the impression that Lewis will always take the risk. He'll always go for it, and he'd rather sort of live by that mantra, whereas I think my natural style would be to actually be a little bit more risk averse, and a little bit safer. So it's how do I sort of flex into that risk mentality when we need it, and to be a bit braver at times.
Stuff. Just one last question from me. Just when you mentioned sort of Lewis and being brave, it just popped into my head about women's red ball cricket. What would, you're in charge now, Sophie Luff. What would you do? Would you institute some sort of women's red ball competition with the tier 1 sides?
Personally, like I'd love to play red ball cricket as a batter. I would love to see some sort of competition. How you're getting into the schedule, I've no idea, to be honest with you. And is there an appetite from the majority of players? I don't know that. I think the younger players have been brought up on white ball cricket, short format cricket. Would they want a red ball competition? I don't know. But yeah, it would be interesting to see whether there is any way to get a little bit of maybe 2-day, 3-day stuff into the schedule moving forward. I guess at the moment, we've had an increased number of games every season since I've turned professional. This is our biggest season yet, with 3 competitions, with the knockout style County Cup being added in as well. So yeah, I guess more and more cricket is great. But also you've got to consider all the other parameters. There's a heck of a lot more resource and a lot more load on ground staff at the minute. So yeah, I'd love to play it personally though.
Great stuff. Somerset Women's captain Sophie Luff, thank you very much. And now can we have Somerset media pundit Sophie Luff off the live stream as we talk about everything else that's been going on in a week where Somerset men haven't played a game, but we have had a lot of news, mainly 3 call-ups. First of all, Thomas Rue has been called up for the rather nicely named Professional County Club Select 11, taking on Zimbabweans at Leicester in a 4-day game starting tomorrow. Tom Banton has been included in England's T20 and ODI side against the West Indies, isn't it, for that upcoming series. And James Rue has been called up for England's Test squad against Zimbabwe in a Test match that starts next week. We're guessing, or it's very likely that he's missing the game against Sussex on Friday. Gibbo, he was born to do it, wasn't he?
James Rue, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
he's got the technique and he's got the temperament. I don't think he'll play, which is a shame, but it shows how much confidence the establishment, the ECB, have got in James Rue, and I think it's only a matter of time. The only question is, where is he going to bat? Because I can't see him being, wicket-keeper batsman. I think that Jamie Smith has got that tied up for the foreseeable future, which goes back to my constant refrain that I'd like to see him batting higher up the order and give somebody else the gloves for Somerset so that he can prove himself as a top order batsman, good enough to play for England, because that's where the vacancy, if there is one, will be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It looks unlikely that he's going to play unless there's an injury or a virus in the yard in the days leading up to the game. But I mean, Steve, as I said again, we've just kind of expected this from James Rue since his first class debut. What was it, up at Southport? Blazing hot day.
22.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing for me is that we've talked a lot, and as Anthony said, about his future being as a batsman and Thomas potentially being our long-term wicket-keeper. So, and last season, I suspect he'd say wasn't probably what he'd hoped it would be, but he's come back so strong this year. And obviously the innings against Essex was so mature and so calm that I think that's been a big... Probably, I'm trying to not mix metaphors, but it probably pushed him over the line in the selector's mind that to win a game like that is, other professional cricketers I know will see that performance and take note, won't they? But I think Anthony's right. He's probably got quite a big career decision coming up in the next 12 to 18 months about where his future lies. Because, when you look at, I'm biased, Sophie, I'm incredibly biased, so you'll have to bear with me here. But when you look at some of the people who've been given England caps recently, they haven't got, James Rue's got more talent in his left toenail than they have been. That's my view on it. So he should be in that setup. My thing, Shep, is, and this is my dad's influence, God bless him. He's been gone 10 years last week now, but I still have him talking to me all the time about Somerset cricket, and his approach would be Expletive England have gone and nicked one of our best players again, because he would want to see them playing for Somerset all the time to give Somerset the best chance. And we used to argue about it constantly, but to me, for the likes of Tom Lammonby and for Thomas coming through and other young players, when you see somebody who's come through the pathway, develop with Somerset, and is going to go on and inevitably be a star for England, that's got to be good for the club, hasn't it, long term? And I saw somebody saying about, are we going to get into another Butler Keyswetter situation again? I don't think we are. But yeah, of course we're going to miss him against Sussex. How can you not miss somebody like that? But if he goes and performs for England and then comes back and plays for us, fantastic. And I'm sure from Sophie's point of view, the whole way through the club, anything like that gives the club a lift, doesn't it? Because you just, you get those call-ups and it really makes you feel that, this is someone that I'm in the dressing room every day that's going to be a superstar. But I'm absolutely agree with Anthony, and I'm convinced that later in the season, he will be batting top 3 and Thomas will be keeping wicket, and that's what we'll see. And obviously the Sean Dixon injury sort of changed that dynamic from a couple of weeks ago when I was last on. But I'm always delighted when a Somerset player gets called up, and it makes me sort of proud by association, which is a great feeling.
Yeah, it always feels like Somerset players have got to do as much and half again to get noticed by the England selectors. A certain Mr. JC Hildreth will be testament to that. I mean, Luffy, as a pro, what impresses you most about James Rew and the way he goes about his business?
Well, I think Anthony mentioned both those things, technique and temperament. Seems like he's got a very mature head on some pretty young shoulders. I haven't come across Rui sort of in the nets as much as I'd maybe like to. We've had quite a bit of crossover with the guys over the winter. But he's just very assured at what he does. And I think his post-match interview when he talked about, getting 100 to win the game, it must be a pretty special feeling to see your side home in what was a crucial game and in pretty extraordinary circumstances as well. He's got a very bright future ahead of him. And I haven't come across Thomas yet, but I'm excited by what I hear.
Yeah, definitely. They do seem to be very different sort of players. You look at James and that cover drive that he plays, where he's almost got the figure 9 with his I can't do my shoulders, and I can do it the other way around, with his really high elbow. And then Thomas is a lot more wristy, a lot of sort of squash type shots that he plays. So but still both very fine players. I mean, when you look at temperament, I can think of so many innings that he's played, and what flabbergasted me the other day is, like all good cricket badgers, I've got a spreadsheet of the Somerset squad when their contracts ends and their dates of birth, and he is so far into the youngsters. He's there with the likes of Alfie Ogborn. You think where Alfie Ogborn is in his career compared to where James Rew is in his career, and it just kind of blows your mind that this guy's already got 10 first-class hundreds. Dug Somerset out of so many holes at 50 for 4. Think back to Lancashire a couple of years ago. By home and away. Hampshire as well, when he got the double 100. Finals day on his professional Vitality Blast debut in front of that packed house at Edgbaston, 7 for 3. Goes on and wins us the game. I mean, he's just got absolute ice in his veins. And, if he is picked next week, I don't think the occasion will faze him whatsoever. I mean, he's just superhuman the way that he is able just to keep his cool with whatever Mother Cricket throws at him while he's at the crease. It's just phenomenal. And
I think the other thing about him is, I think he's found a way to play. He was very stodgy when he first came into the side, understandably enough. Last season, I think he tried to be a bit too Bazball-ish. And by his own admission, and he was playing some daft shots and trying to be too aggressive. I think this season he seems to have found a happy medium between the two, so he can play his shots, but the foundation of his game is that solid defence. And that's the foundation of any really top batsman, is to have that solid defence. And if you've got that, then you can graft onto it whatever style of play you want. But he's got all the shots. He's got a great eye. He plays the ball really late. And I think, as I say, he's naturally, he wants to move the game on. He doesn't want to get stuck. But equally, he appreciates the value of his wicket. So he's not going to give it away in the ways that one or two others have a tendency to do.
He strikes me, Anthony, and you obviously see him live a heck of a lot more than me, but when he gets to 50, he wants to get to 75, and then 75 is the 100, and 100's not enough, and then it's a big 100. That seems to be the mentality. And Sophie said about the feeling of winning that game for Somerset a couple of weeks ago, but again, I was very distant for that. But it's sort of, when you're watching a game distant and not watching the live stream, not being able to listen to Anthony, but you're watching the score updates, you're sort of right, yeah, okay, Rui's got this sorted. It's a lovely calming feeling, which maybe you don't get with some of the other of our men's first team players. But I think it's, Lewis has been very similar this year, hasn't he? That he's come in so many times and made really important contributions.
He's
But
batting beautifully. Batting is better than I've ever seen him, Lewis Gregory, and Craig Overton as well. He's gone to another level. He was good last year as well, Craig. Without getting the opportunities. But
without insulting Craig, I think there's an extra maturity to his batting this year. He probably wouldn't like me saying that word. He'd probably come and punch me for saying it. But I think I say it as the biggest compliment to Craig, because I think he, again, I always think of perception. And when you're watching it, you think, oh, Craig's there, that's fine. Where maybe a couple of years ago, you're going to go, Craig's going to get 20 and then lash at one. And he didn't. And again, seemed to have batted really maturely. Let's hope it's the springboard result that we've needed for a few weeks in that competition, because we really need to punch another couple of wins in the next couple of games.
We still need an opening partnership, though.
We do. Well,
replay the last time I was on with you, Anthony, in our conversation then.
I think if you total up the number of hours we've discussed the opening partnership in the, I don't know, we've done like 140 episodes of this. Where's that time gone? But anyway, the total time discussing the opening partnership, it's
about 138.25.
Well, yeah, we need to be applying to the Guinness Book of Records to get ourselves in there. I will just put, I don't know whether it's a negative or not on James Rew, but he does get him. There is a particular angle round the wicket, right arm wide of the crease. A good short ball has got him into trouble a few times. I think you've noticed that, Bowen. They say that Test match cricket is more of a back foot game than a front foot game, but I don't see any reason why he can't overcome that. He's not. His technique is so good; he will find a way to deal with that.
It's a problem I would like to have had at his age.
Well, yes, definitely. I mean, we've all had. Yes. Am I good enough against? I was not good enough against any sort of bowling, really. But one fella who he will be able to help him out in his quest to better himself against the short ball in the nets at Taunton, he's finally here. Photographic proof was posted by the club after some silly little Indians posted a daft internet rumour that he was off to the IPL as an emergency replacement. Matt Henry is finally here after recovering from injury. Is at the Cooper Associates County Ground. Is fully fit and will take his place in the side, barring any extraordinarily unlucky mishap on Friday against Sussex. I've got him coming in for Josh Davey. We need to find somebody to bat at 6 in the absence of James Rew. We're assuming that Tom Banton's going to be given the gloves. If my memory serves, the last time Tom Banton kept wicket in a 4-day game was in 2021 against Worcester in the funny season. That's a guess. That's probably wrong.
Was that the Lammonby 100? No, that wasn't the Lammonby 100.
No, that was the year before, wasn't it? This is when we had the funny little, what was it, Hampshire? We had the 3 groups, and then you went through and you took through the points against the other side. So we were in that funny situation where it would have benefited us to draw against Hampshire rather than win. And
yes.
Yeah, it was all very funny. So, we're assuming that Banter's going to have the gloves, given that Rew Jr. is away with the professional county club select 11. Unless I get the late caller.
Hopefully doing his revision while he's not batting as well.
What about TKC?
He's still in the PSL, isn't he?
No, it's finished.
Isn't that back? Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, I thought they were playing again.
No, they're not. The PSL has been scrapped. The IPL is carrying on, but the PSL's been scrapped. They were going to finish it in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or something, but I think I read something had been scrapped.
I mean, potentially. I mean, have you seen him at the ground, Luffy? Is he back there with his odd shoes on? There's one pink one and one blue one.
Funny you say that. I did think I saw him in the gym yesterday.
There you are.
But I'm not 100% it was him. But there was some sort of rogue haircut. So he's as good a guess as any, isn't he?
I mean, has he still got his T20 haircut? Because when we won it in 2023, he kind of morphed. He had the mohawk, which he then kind of grew back out for the championship games following that.
He's gone long mullet kind of style, yeah.
Not a good look. Not a good look.
I mean, if he's back, I mean, Banton has said he's potentially not that keen on keeping him 4-day cricket. I mean, when was the last time TKC kept? It probably would have been when
It's a
Banton
big
was
ask to ask
injured.
TKC to come in and play his first 4-day game and keep wicket. So my thinking was, if he's fit, you might bring him into bat. Or is Will Smeed fit now?
Will Smeed is fit. Well, this is another piece of that jigsaw. So the day before we start the Sussex game on the Thursday, the men have got a friendly against Devon at Expletive. So T20 friendly, which has got in it Smeed. Well, the squad is Will Smeed, Josh Thomas, Finn Hill, Lewis Goldsworthy, JT Langridge, and Alfie Ogborn from the staff, and then brought in to bolster the numbers: Seb Linnet, Kean Roberts, Oscar Coleman, Ben Sher, Satva Kusick, and Bertie Michael. So you would assume if any of those were going to be in the squad for Friday, they wouldn't be playing in this game on Thursday night. So that would leave out Will Smeed and Lewis Goldsworthy as the two batters from that squad. I don't think there's any other batters that were missing from the list to bring in.
I've just looked up the PSL. Yeah. It was scrapped, but now it's back on again. So the 8 games to be played with the final on May 25th. So no TKC just yet.
Oh, it's a TKC impersonator. Maybe he's kind of got a body double. He's that high profile now. He's okay, so that scraps that. So if we're assuming that none of those 3 are coming in, then that means we're shifting everybody up.
You play Lewis Gregory as a batter?
Well, he's good enough. I would have no issue with Gregory batting at 6.
Who's going to open the innings? Who's going to open the innings?
Well, I'm sticking with Vaughan and
Umeed. Yeah, they'll stick with. They'll stick with
I'm hoping that he's either.
Sorry, they will.
I'm hoping he's either had the arm around the shoulder or the Brian close bollocking.
He averages 19. He averages 19 as an opening batsman.
I know. I mean, but again, if they were going to bring in Josh Thomas, he wouldn't be playing potentially excellent. I mean, I assume that squad is subject to change.
Why don't we open with Lewis Goldsworthy and Vaughan?
Could do. Could open with Davey. Well, probably done as good as most of them.
That's what Mark Robinson suggested down at Hove when I was with him.
I mean, I'm just looking at the bowling. I don't think you can have Overton, Henry, and Davey, because the 3 of those are new ball bowlers. I don't think Josh Davies a change bowler. I think he needs the new ball. And I don't see him opening the bowling ahead of Overton and Henry. I mean, is it the stupidest idea in the world to have him opening the batting? Or does Andy Umeed deserve a run?
But not far off.
But, I mean, Andy Umeed presumably deserves a run because he's only had 1 game.
Not in Anthony's world, he doesn't. But yeah, I agree with you, Gibson.
Anthony's a very harsh taskmaster. Archie Vaughan looked absolutely cream crackered, and I'm sure he's benefited from a week off, recharging his batteries, having a little look at his game, maybe chat with a few ex-England openers that he can get the ear of to sort of
Atherton, Trescothick,
yeah. Anyway, we're not allowed to mention his dad because they don't like
it.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, don't want to disrupt the batting order anymore, but I don't think Lammerby's going to move up. Lammerby has signed a new contract today.
Yes,
it was announced today.
2028.
2028 for Lammerby. Rumours that he read the first 3 pages and then got distracted and started looking out the window are slightly unfounded. Sorry, Tom, I thought about that one earlier today and I couldn't resist saying it, didn't it? Oh, here's me. Here's me.
We've got to.
Best I ever did was Devon League F Division cricket, and I've taken the mickey out of one of our finest batters.
We've got to get Anthony psychologically prepared for 36 hours' time. That's part of our role here. And when he comes on air Anthony, you are going to have to accept that Umeed and Vaughan will be our opening partnership on Friday. Okay, it is going to happen, so just deal with it in your usual professional way.
Well, I really like Andy Umeed, and nothing would give me greater pleasure than to see him score 100 opening the innings. But honestly, he's had so many chances, and he just doesn't look the part, I'm afraid. He can't play the red ball. He's fine against the white ball, but he cannot play the moving ball.
Well, if he plays the kind of shots that he played against Simon Harmer, Luffy, we talked last week about what you do to players when they come in after having played a shocking shot like Andy Umeed played against Simon Harmer against Essex last week. And when Gibbo was speaking to Shane Berger after, what did he say? It was something like, we need to ask him about his processes and what he was thinking and that sort of thing. Everybody's different. In your dressing room, are there players that need an arm around the shoulder and some players that need a bollocking? Two players that sprung to mind for me when talking about that were when Mike Bradley talked about Bob Willis and Ian Botham. You'd take the piss out of Botham to get him, or give him a bollocking to get him bowling well, and Bob Willis needed an arm around the shoulder. What's your views on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, some people definitely need an arm around the shoulder. I think in the women's game, you will find that is usually the route to go down rather than the bollocking. I can imagine in the men's game, it's pretty much the reverse of that. It would be fascinating to be in a men's dressing room for a day to see kind of what unfolds. And I actually thought Shane spoke very well in that interview that he gave. But yeah, there are a lot of talk around processes and decision making, and was it down to the decision or was it execution? And sometimes I think you just got to admit that it was a stupid shot, a stupid time, and maybe you weren't really thinking about what you were doing.
I never played at the standard you play, so the sort of highest level I played at, we had a pretty good team, but we had an awful lot of laughs because it was a recreational cricket, and we developed this strategy in that situation where nobody in the dressing room would talk to that person for at least half an hour. So everyone would, like you are in club cricket, you're all sitting outside the pavilion, and it would be that body language, arms folded, and just as they walk past, you'd ignore them. And we had an Aussie playing for us one year who was Grade 1 Tasmanian cricketer, really, really good cricketer. And there was one occasion where he got a nick on the ball first over of a game that nobody else on our side would have got near to. And we gave him the silent treatment for 30 minutes. And I actually thought he was going to cry at one point, but it was the funniest thing ever. So I think if I was now lucky enough to have played at that level, I'd have loved to have tried that strategy and see how everyone reacted to it, because it's the last thing, especially in club cricket, isn't it, Sheps? The last thing you expect is, you're either going to get the mickey taken out of you or someone have a go at you. But the silent treatment was such a joy. It really used to work beautifully.
Well, I do think the occasional bollocking does work as well. I think it's difficult bollocking because you can't stand up as a captain and point at somebody and in front of the whole dressing room and jab them in the chest and make them feel 2 inches tall. It doesn't work like that. But sometimes if just get up the woods. I said, what the flipping hell were you thinking of? Right, we still haven't sorted out who's going to bat at 6.
Gregory.
Smeed. Bring Will Smeed in.
Yeah, if he's available, play him. But again, Shep seems to have nixed that idea with his team news from Exmouth.
I don't know. I mean, that squad is obviously... I don't know who keeps wicket in that squad. I'm not particularly au fait with Ben Church. Is he a keeper? He opens the batting, doesn't he, normally?
Don't know.
I don't know. Not sure he's got a captain. Not sure he's going to keep wicket. But they might be nicking Katie Jones off you, Luffy. You never know.
Hopefully not. We need her.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be Banton then with Gregory at 6. You potentially then would bring in Aldridge maybe as a sort of a quote unquote sort of luxury bowler, because Aldridge in that attack.
No, 4 seamers is enough. You don't want more than 4 seamers. We need to strengthen the batting. It's the batting, with Matt Henry, I think the bowling looks much, much better. But we need to get more runs from the top order.
Are you counting Lewis as one of the seamers? I'm assuming you are. And if my theory
Yeah.
plays as a batsman, that's when Casey Aldridge comes in.
Casey honestly hasn't played very well this season, either with bat or ball. And I'd like to see Lewis Goldsworthy or Will Smead or one of the one of the ones that are the sort of fringe players be given a chance in the top order. Andy Umeed, if you like, open with Goldsworthy and put Umeed in at 6 or 5 or somewhere like that, where I think he's got a better chance of scoring runs.
I like having Aldridge as an X factor.
Yeah, I know. I hear what you say, Anthony, and you've seen it up close and personal every ball this season. But he's somebody I want to keep. Much as the way you want to keep picking Archie at the top of the order and just say to him, "You just keep going. You'll learn. You'll benefit from this." As time, it sort of comes back to the Pretorius conversation, though. If Pretorius taking Casey's place away from him some of the season, I would definitely want Casey in the side in this situation. So you go Gregory, Casey, Craig, Pretorius, Leacham.
That's too many. It's too many bowlers. You don't need 5 seam bowlers, for goodness sake.
One of them's playing as a batsman.
Well,
I mean, Gregory's back and whatever else is broken.
Yeah, I worry about Lewis as one of your frontline seamers these days.
Or do you then bring in, do you go Josh Thomas then? Got another left arm spinner, slightly different style to Leach. Can more than hold a bat.
Bring Ben Green back to open. There's the thought.
Oh, yeah. Well, he did back in 2020.
Yeah, exactly. He opened in the final, didn't he, at Lord's in that?
Yeah.
Has probably not got a much worse record than any of the guys that we tried.
The aforementioned.
Yeah, the aforementioned Guinness World Record discussion of 700 hours worth of podcasts. Oh, I don't know. Whatever we decide, they'll go with something else because they always do.
Yep.
But it is a genuinely big game, and I think a game that we are definitely going to have to win if we want to keep this slim chance of lifting that county championship in September down at Essex at Chelmsford alive. Because they're not going to be as strong as they were. Jaden Seals has ended his overseas stint. The left armer that took loads of wickets against us, what's he called? I can't remember now.
Sean Hunt,
he's still
good
injured.
Bowler.
So
very good bowler.
I don't think Ollie Robertson's available either.
Well, last week they had James Hayes on loan from Nottinghamshire.
Lots, yes, they did.
So I feel like they're potentially got a few injuries there and a bit light in their bowling attack.
We could loan him Jake Ball. So there's this kind of, we talked about that Middlesex game last week where they switched the pitch after we found out that Roland Jones, Murtagh and Finn were all injured. I mean, we could potentially do the same, but I expect now the way Taunton services are, we are going to see a pitch that is as green, if not greener, than the one that we saw against Essex, bearing in mind that, it had pretty much stopped doing anything on that final day and we had a pretty incident-free run chase on that final morning. I think it's got to be as green as that luscious-looking meadow behind you, Gibbo.
Absolutely. No, I think that's the right sort of pitch to go for. A bit of grass on it, so there's a bit of bounce and carry for Matt Henry. You want to encourage him, give him a pitch that he can operate on. It'll suit Craig Overton as well, and hopefully, given Jack Leach's skill level, he'll be able to get something out of it as it wears towards the end of the game, even if it does flatten out, which they tend to at Taunton. We got a good, strong, balanced attack. On a good pitch, we ought to be able to beat Sussex. We really ought. If we can't beat Sussex at home with Matt Henry in the side, we haven't honestly got much hope of winning the county championship.
As pessimistic as that sounds, Gib, I can't really disagree with it.
It's not pessimistic, it's realistic.
I know, yeah. Well, yes, that's true. That's true as well. We've got a couple of listeners' questions. I might just have to quickly pick out the best ones as we are running a little bit late. Most of them are about selection. I think we pretty much discussed anything that was sent to us in a Twitter question. Just one last piece of business. There is a members forum after play in the county room on Saturday. So if you are interested in coming along and seeing what Jamie Cox et al. Have to say about the club, that will be 20 minutes after play in the county room. Do we have any other business before we know what's on the head?
Not today, I don't think.
Good stuff. Right, I'm going to go and have my tea. Sophie Luff, it's been a pleasure, and thank you very much for taking time on your day off to
thanks,
Sophie. Great to catch up,
come
guys.
and chat to us.
You and the team go well, mate, for the rest of the season. We'll be following you closely. Hopefully you can come back on and celebrate more success later in the year.
Thank you.
Yeah, what have you got? So you got Durham on Friday at Exmouth. Then you got the Blaze. Is that at Trowbridge or at Loughborough?
That's a Loughborough.
At Loughborough on Tuesday the 20th. I presume in that time you may have to play some quarters for the Women's T20 Cup. Then it's finals day on the 26th, and then the big one, Vitality Blast, doubleheader, Somerset Women against Surrey, followed by Somerset against Surrey at the Cooper Associates County Ground. Doubleheader Friday, the 30th of May. It's a sellout. It's going to be cracking. Hope to see you all there. Just one final point then. Obviously, Tom Curran is everyone's favourite Surrey player from a Somerset perspective. Are there any... We haven't got any kind of bet noirs in the women's game yet, Sophie. Is there anyone we should be looking out for, or should we just kind of let it evolve?
That's a really unfair question.
Yeah, let it play out, and let the supporters of Somerset be the judge of that. Hey.
Absolutely, we'll see if there's
they were doing great. They're getting the great job of getting Sophie to come back on again, and now she's gone. If he's going to ask me questions like that, I'm never touching that podcast again.
Well, I'm sure we'll keep an eye on social media and any kind of man-cat attempts to pick out any favourite players we can have from various other teams down at the Cooper Associates County Ground. Right, best of luck to Lewis Gregory and the guys facing Sussex on Friday, and of course, best of luck to you, Sophie, and the team for what is going to be a pretty jam-packed few days in May for you. And yeah, we'll catch up with you again after Sussex next week. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
See you later.
There we go. Cheers. Thanks, Soph.